Cardiovascular Institute of the South is celebrating 40 years of delivering healthcare to our patients and communities. Founded by Dr. Craig Walker in 1983 and guided by a mission to provide the highest quality cardiovascular care available, CIS has pioneered hundreds of firsts to improve outcomes for cardiovascular diseases. Through new technology, virtual care, outpatient procedures, and national growth, CIS is improving lives and leading the way for advanced care and innovation.
Everybody, welcome back to Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We're going to check in Lafourche Parish and an incident that happened back in June of this year. There's an arrest has been made. So for that, we bring in Captain Brendan Mathern of Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Thanks so much for being with us. This is an update of something that happened in the Bayou Blue area in June, and you guys have updated that, right?
Yeah, Harry, thanks for having us. We've made an arrest in a shooting that occurred on June 23rd on Palmisano Drive in Bayou Blue. Just to refresh your memory, that incident occurred around 2 a.m. on early Sunday morning, June 23rd. You had some patrons that were walking away from a bar area there, and it was actually two men, two women, and one of the men opened fired on the other couple. So the man opened fired on a man and a woman. A woman in her 30s suffered a gunshot wound to her leg. It was not life-threatening. She recovered. But through that investigation, we developed Felix Miller, a 32-year-old of Gray, Louisiana, as the suspect. We eventually got an arrest warrant for 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder in this case, and we were able to locate him on Friday, August 9th, and he was arrested on that warrant and booked into the Lafourche Parish Correctional Complex. And Harry, his bail in this case is set at $1 million.
That seems like, and I don't know what's going on, but that seems pretty high for $1 million.
Ultimately, bail is, up to each individual judge, and they look at a number of factors. Remember, bail is not a punishment for the crime. It is a promise to appear in court, essentially. And so they look at a number of factors, including flight risk, criminal history, things of that nature, and obviously the charges involved when they consider that. Obviously, we would defer to the judges on the specifics of what they look at, but that's just kind of a general idea of what they're looking at when they set those bails. And that is, something that is often misunderstood with the public. They think the higher the bail, that's the bigger punishment of the crime, or that there should be no bail. Remember, bail is just a promise to appear in court. These individuals are innocent until proven guilty. Once they are proven guilty, then they go to the sentencing phase, and that is when they are sentenced to time in prison.
I got you. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I know you didn't set the bail, but that did kind of stand out. Hey, let's talk about back to school, and I know the Sheriff's Department is always involved whenever schools get started with resource officers in the school, but more importantly, this time of year, it's people are not used to the speed limits and the school zone. So can you update us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Harry. That's probably the biggest thing that we need to push out at this time of year, is just to remind folks as they're driving that those school zones are back in effect. And depending on where you are, whether it's a state highway or even on a local street, those school zones need to be obeyed, and the speed limit will differ depending on where they're located at. But one thing that is consistent with all of our school zones is that they are all hands-free zones. And no, that doesn't mean you drive with your knee and use the steer. You try to drive with your steering wheel with your knee. What it means is you keep both hands on the wheel and hands off of wireless devices, such as cell phones or tablets. To be clear, texting and driving is already outlawed in the state at all times. When you're driving through a school zone, you can't even have the phone in your hand to be making a phone call or anything. So you have to use your car's Bluetooth or something of that nature. And look, the purpose of this is just to make sure that you have no distractions, that your eyes are on the road, and that you are very cognizant of the fact that you're passing in a school zone and aware of not only teachers and students, but our crossing guards. Obviously, we've had a situation with Mr. Larry Boudreaux where one of our crossing guards was struck and killed. So certainly we want everyone to be aware when they're passing through school zones to be off of their devices and watching for any pedestrians.
Yeah, so the school zones, most of them are marked and you'll see flashing lights, but I'm sure not all of them are. But the timing of it and the timing of the cell phones and all, is that just during those, 7 to 9 or 2 to 4 in those particular areas, or is that all the time?
That's correct. Each school zone will indicate it, depending, on where you're watching this, in Houma, Lafourche. Each school zone should indicate the times, or it'll say when flashing, something of that nature. But you're right, the 7 to 9 and 2 to 4 is sort of the default times on those signs, but it would indicate, it would either be flashing or indicate that it would have those times. And that's when those school zones will be in effect. If the lights are not flashing or it is outside of those hours, you can obey the normal speed limit. The key for this, Harry, is that this particular moving violation of using a device in a school zone is you can be fined up to $500 for a first offense. Second or subsequent offenses can be up to $1,000 and a 60-day suspension of your license. So this is not just your run-of-the-mill speeding ticket. This is a very serious moving violation.
Yeah, and look, we got a little different because we have LA1 or 308. So a lot of times it's highways that we have to slow down. It's not just a neighborhood, as you wouldn't be going that fast. So you might have to go from 55 down to 25 as opposed to 25 to 15 or whatever. So it is a little different right there. And the resources, we mentioned it earlier, you guys have resource officers at most of the schools, huh?
That's correct. This year we've added a couple, but we have school resource officers at all of our schools in Lafourche Parish. Now, some of our elementary, upper and lower elementary schools, they may share resource officers or DARE officers, but ultimately we have a DARE officer assigned to every school in one way, shape, or form throughout the parish. And they're there for a variety of reasons, to be a liaison between administration and the students, to also, be a source of education for the students, especially in the case of DARE officers when it comes to drugs and things of that nature.
Well, yeah, we appreciate it. That's Captain Brendan Mathurman, Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Also, new rules coming from the legislature on what can happen in classrooms, so they're backing up the teachers a lot. So I appreciate you joining us for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
All right, we'll be right back with more Bayou Time right after this.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bourke, know your rights.